Live, I guess.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lessons Told series with Within the Cauldron. We are covering Yule traditions tonight. Joining me, Amber, for those of you who may not recognize me, there's also Nico and Chris.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good. I'm excited that this season's upon us and that I don't know. I always feel better. It's interesting how some of the darkest nights with like the winter solstice coming and knowing that it's, we still have a little ways to go and then it's going to start to get brighter, but it's just like somehow in the dark, it brings you closer together.
Yeah,
I agree. It's always the cozy time you get to spend with all your friends and family, and
because we're all inside and we don't have much choice. But
yeah, but you got to make the most of it.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love this time of year. When I was younger, I remember me and my friends would get together and would buy a 12-pack or something, and go to one or another's house and sit down and have a little mini party. It was always fun during the winter.
Okay. Well, and it's also kind of that, like you invite, well, like the party or the get togethers, you're literally like forced to be inside and to stay together, like in a contained space. To be able to spend time with each other. It's not like in the summer months, like where you are across the yard. You're not like physically right next to this person. It's kind of like this, like we kind of herd together and we get closer with our loved ones and our friends and dive deeper into those conversations and also kind of make a resolve of the year. I mean, I know as witches, we fall very heavily on Samhain, but in our mundane life, the calendar that you actually hang up on the wall. This is that year close where we want to resolve the matters from the year so that we can start the next year new.
Yeah.
And Samhain, we worked a little bit more with our ancestors and past transgressions that we may have had. But once we get closer to the Yule and the winter solstice, it's like right before the light gets better, let me just take whatever I need to into the darkness and leave it there.
Yeah.
Resolve it, bury it into the earth, and let her cleanse it. Let her resolve it, and let us face the upcoming light with kind of like a lighter mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can relate to it. So
We're in the renewal season, so
Yeah.
we've had that transition from the underworld work into starting to tend the flames to bring the fire and the sun back, and that it's honestly one of my two favorite holidays between Samhain and Yule.
Yes. When I was over in Germany, they would have fairs all the time. And
Mm,
at that time, I didn't realize what they was actually doing was celebrating the wheel of the year.
mm,
And I would love to see how they celebrate Yule and Christmas. I'd like to go to Italy and see how they actually celebrated Saturnella, Christmas, the more
mm,
modern holiday,
Mm.
and how they would actually, celebrate that. And not to mention Belfana, you know,
mm, mm.
I think that's January 6th, something like that.
Yep.
Yep.
And to me, all of these holidays are very important. Even Krampus Day, you
Mhm,
know, that's important that we recognize the dark with the light and the great battle that happens. The
mm,
Oak King surrenders his crown to the Holly King. There's that great battle, which
mm,
I see it as a necessity for mankind, and,
Oh,
and how it connects weirdly in a way that everybody celebrates it across the land. Our ancestors did. They celebrated it, Yule itself, and how each corner of the world, not knowing each other, had their own celebration of Yule and they didn't know it. I think
mm.
that's very amazing. From the
oh,
Laplands
yeah.
to, you know, different
Well,
parts.
and I know that as witches, as some pagans may also follow the certain Sabbats that we do, it's one of those things that it's not like there's not a ton of crossover between our Sabbats and the holidays that we celebrate, the Trigwindas, and on from there, and the more mundane world. Our Judeo-Christian society that we live in.
Yeah,
And this is one of them where there's still that, someone, a god or Jesus being born. And then there's also people coming together and taking
Mhm,
care of each other in the cold months and bestowing blessings or gifts to each other. And then just the different crossovers that we have in general with like symbolism, like with the Christmas tree and the Yule log and on from there.
mhm,
We, it's one of those times where like kind of with what my dad was mentioning, that things are carried over. It's everybody is participating for the most part. Everybody in one way or another is participating in that newfound hope, that new beginning, that spark
mhm.
that's to come. And it's awesome. It's beautiful and it's like something that you can share with everyone around you and you don't feel singled out with one belief system or another. Everybody understands this time frame. We're all on that common thread.
yeah, yeah. It what really, how can I say it? When I look at the Nordic traditions, they speak of Woden,
Mhm.
um, and Thor, riding through the sky with the
On the Wild Hunt. Mhm.
yeah,
The Wild Hunt, the collection of souls for the year,
yeah,
um, and how we have to ward against the uh, the Wild Hunt to prevent us from also being taken. So we light what they call the need fire,
yeah.
which is either inside or outside, similar to the Yule log. Um, and then there's other ritualistic aspects that some people do,
Well,
but it,
it's like the holly, is supposed
yeah,
to protect us.
mhm,
You know, it pricks the spirits and stuff, and they don't want to come through. It was put up at every door and window.
mhm,
You have the hot, what is that? Mistletoe
mhm,
that they would hang up so that it would bring luck and fertility to your home.
mhm.
I think these things are really amazing. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Oh no, you're fine. But we have, it's part of the reason I love the winter season is, as y'all know, I'm a fan of all of the spooky things, and we have so many wintertime spirits and demons and witches, and like it's just extra magical because we have the Cailleach from Scotland and Ireland, which is the Winter Witch,
Yeah.
who rules from Samhain through Imbolc, and she goes around blowing the winds and producing snow. And then as we wane towards spring, she's cleaning. And her dusting her home is what gives you those early spring flurries. And we have the Tomta or the Nis, which here in America, a lot of people will know it as the Christmas gnome. The cute little guy, the beard with the nose. Um, and that is a like Danish and Icelandic kind of a Christmas father, but it's also the house spirit of your home, and you take care of him by he gets paid once a year on Christmas Eve with a bowl of porridge with a heavy amount of butter, cream, and sugar, and he is said to continue doing work for you in the home, and that that is the day that they recognize and honor him and pay him, and then Icelandic Yule lads and Percha and well her little minions and the havoc that they cause in Iceland where we have the spoon licker and the sausage snatcher and um
Liquor.
I the they're they're very very cute, and if you're looking for a fun pagan tradition to work in, I recommend looking into the Yule lads. There's 13 of them, so it's 13 days. You get a new little friend that comes by, and they all have their own little mischief that they cause. Um, and it's very similar to like the modern Elf on a Shelf.
Mm.
And you can absolutely just have a blast with the littles running through and putting goo on all of your spoons in the house and leaving half-eaten sausages on the counter. Um, and then we have the Yule Cat, which is like a house-sized cat spirit that goes after parents who neglect their children. And for children that were too poor to get pajamas, they chase them through the winterscapes.
Yeah. That's
Um,
why we're supposed to give our children new clothes
you have
at
to get
that
one new
time of
pair
year.
of clothes a year to ward it off. And I'm wearing my new onesie, so I'm safe this year.
Right?
Hmm
Gosh.
Yeah. I don't know. Amber, can I ask you a question? Growing up, you have participated, been at many a Yule ritual
Oh
or
yeah.
winter solstice for us.
Mhm.
What was the one thing that you liked about that ritual? Or did you even like it?
I liked the ritual. I would say two things. So first, I'll lead with the more joy, like even the greater joy. I'll say is that we try to incorporate like kind of like the caroling with some like cheesy Yule songs,
hmm
and we kind of all just get kind of goofy. It's the moment where you've worked through all these rituals in the year, and some of them are more intense, some of them are more I don't know, fertility based, or they all have their themes. New beginnings, and we go through all these different phases together, and then we get to Yule, and it's like we did it, guys. Like we made it through another year. We made it through facing our ancestors and those
hmm
and beyond with Samhain. We made it through. The harvest is done. All the hard work is done. It's time for us to just celebrate.
hmm
Yeah. Reap
And
the rewards
bring
of
like
our
turn
labor.
the year literally turn the year wheel together and say we're at the longest night and we're gonna go to the daylight. We're gonna bring it in. And it seems like we get more you start to appreciate your coven members even more. Like more than you already do.
Yeah.
It's like the moment where like we made it past the season and we're gonna keep striving. We're gonna strengthen our bonds and our just determination to push each other along together. So that's my favorite. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the ritual was just, I hate to say it, but almost the goofing off part.
You have to have fun.
Yeah.
And it's,
And then my next part would be the battle with the Holly King and the Oak King. It's just hilarious. There's always, like you get a hands-on, you get to try, you get to bring in all that symbolism. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's like, oh man, he really took it to it.
Yeah,
Like
I had a
we've
couple
all
of
seen
people do
the
that to me.
ritual where one of them really, really tried to change the tides. And then we've also seen the one where they're just like, it happened. I won. And I love it when there's like more role-playing ones, like when they get really into the role and they make their way around the entire ritual circle. And it's just, I think it's those things. It's just, we get involved. And it's not as solemn as some of the other rites and Sabbats that we go through. It's beautiful. Everyone's at ease. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it was about the battle of the light and dark, the Oak King versus the Holly King. I always got the role of the Oak King, and I always tried to beat the darkness, the Holly King. But usually it was, you have to let the Holly King win, because if you don't, you're almost guaranteed in your ritual that the Gaia is not going to rest. We're not going to rest. That's part of our role, is to bring in the winter, the fall. As witches, we have to, do all this. But also the most important part for me was recognizing that the promised child, the new sun god, rebirth, happening. And to me, that was very important, because that is part of our belief system. And with the magical experiences that I've had, I see truth within it. I've recognized the Demeter and Hecate chasing Persephone down into Hades, but also Persephone's sacrifice of being scourged and making love and bringing back the sun god. And at the same turn, when the sun god comes back to warm us, that Persephone is going to come back and help us with our crops, and that ever renewal. To me, Yule is very, very much about fertility. The sacrifice that our gods made, the how can I say it, their want and their desire for humankind to prosper. We should recognize that through Yule, because I can't say that because that's oath-bound, but, there's more to Yule than what we see, because all of our gods are participating in this. The Great Britain celebrates Yule far different than what we do. If you look at Norway, the Laplands, they celebrate Yule far different than what we do. Look at Italy, Saturnalia, and
the Christmas donkey and the log horse that poops little Christmas presents. And I don't know, I can't remember what its name is, but
and the Lord of Misrule, December 24th, 25th, I think. See what how Saturnalia.
Saturnalia, yep. The Hellenismos.
Yep, where everybody would gift a figurine. And I think that a lot of that is how we started gifting, but it's become commercialized. But I'm not going into that, and we should recognize, this is the time of year where early paganism was very scary. And as witches today, we don't see that because we are modernized. We're sheltered within cities, of what actually goes on in the wilds.
Yeah.
We don't see those things that go bump in the night, or we have
Or
forgotten.
with the food scarcities that they often had if you didn't have enough winter stores.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where like the Germanic mythos come from, or the traditions where you go from house to house celebrating. So you go from neighbor to neighbor and you're making dinners and eating with different people in the community, and they're all going around doing this to help preserve food rations.
Yeah.
And they're making wassail, one to preserve rations for their beverages and to have a good time, keep warm in the winter.
Mhm.
And it's one of the places that the concept of like gathering in the winter as a community
Mhm.
Yep.
and like
That's where
having the
that's
drunken
where
debauchery.
caroling came from too.
Yeah, and the caroling. They'd sit there and share songs and then pass around the cup, and they're getting a little turned over, and
Yep.
you have a jolly old time, and
Yep.
then
Yep.
go bang on your neighbor's door and demand the figgy puddings.
Yep. That's pretty interesting
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
I've been studying the craft for years, and it seems like every year I'm learning something new or a different term that I've never heard before, and I try to correlate it with our tradition that we've been,
Hmm.
chasing. It's like the gods role. I'm always chasing them and trying to learn more about them
Hmm.
outside of our tradition. And I think it's important for all of us to spiritually reach out and see
Right.
what is Yule? What is it really?
Hmm.
How did our
Yeah.
ancestors really celebrate it?
Hmm.
A lot of people say, well, we're in reclamation. We don't know how they actually celebrated, but we are coming up with our own rituals.
We're going up with new
Our truth
ones.
within, like
Right.
Yule and
Hmm.
Samhain, uh, spring solstice,
Hmm. Well,
we're,
ironically, winter solstice rituals are some of the most heavily documented ones that we have. Because like
Mhm.
we have Belfana survived, the Kaliak survived. We have the
yeah,
Bellsnaukel, which is the mountain man who brings candy through your windows. Krampus survived,
yeah,
um, the Wild Hunt, and so many others. Because this is also the month of the Bodhi celebration and Hanukkah this month. Well, I think Hanukkah's either still going or has just finished. And like December really is the like conjunction of like kind of everybody's got a little something going around the winter solstice.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
And be friendly, be kind. Like it. The more I'm a big fan of celebrating, the more things that I can fit into my schedule to celebrate, I will. So like, I will go to that Hanukkah party. I will go to the Christmas party and the Yule celebrations and Krampusnacht, and like, if there's an excuse to have fun, I'm going.
For
I
me,
love
it's a celebration from Yule
that.
Hmm.
to, January 6th, Belplana. You know,
Hmm.
we we used to celebrate that.
Ours is similar. We have Old Christmas, which I believe is the January 8th.
Yeah,
Hmm.
which I
Unless you
find it
follow.
amazing how how we perceive and talk about Yule. And like for our Christian brothers and sisters, it's all about Christ. Even though they pinpoint the date of Christ being born is actually, in September, I think is what they say. At least scientifically, that's what they say.
Mhm.
It amazes me how the Gregorian calendar has kind of pushed it to being close to Yule, the
Mhm.
24th.
On
Giving Day.
Lunar Yule this year is January 13th. So if we're going winter solstice the 21st, if you're going like recreationist the 13th of January, and then the 12 or 13 days around that. So I mean, you don't really have to stop celebrating. We can keep going till in bulk. Like we just keep the party going.
It's what our ancestors did, you know.
Damn right.
You know, from what I understand, there was like 3 days of celebration for Yule. Saturnalia went for a long period of time. I can't remember how long it went, but that was very much about, you know, mischief. It's when the rules were loosened up. Um, the Lord of Misrule is usually somebody in the family who was always naughty, so they just gave him free reign to be naughty, you know.
And the Mare to Win, which is the Welsh Christmas horse. That one's one of my favorites, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a skeleton horse covered in ribbons, jingle bells, and a sheet. And then it's a puppet. And you have a community members will guide this puppet to houses. And you have to rap battle Mare to Win. Or the puppeteer comes in and gets to take all of your liquor.
Yeah. Sad.
And like imagine that as a and then they have parties where like the Mare to Win will dance around, and the Morris dancers in the wintertime in their goat and horse masks.
Yeah. Yeah, there's people. Where was that? I can't remember, but these people would wear goats' heads and skins and walk right into a Christian.
The wild dancers, yeah, the alpine wild dancers,
which I find kind of wild, but you know. Then see what else was there? The um, the Yule log.
Yeah.
How it seemed like from country to country the how it spread and became eventually what they call a Yule tree, which eventually turned into, like, for the United States, the Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they celebrate a Protestant preacher for bringing it to the United States. But it's important for people to realize that the Christmas tree, the Yule tree, stems back, you know, in history, and we can't sit there and falsify it and sit there and go, oh, this is this. The Yule tree is very important, as well as the Yule log. You know, it's about bringing prosperity and luck, and keeping the ashes and giving them to people that you love and strangers for prosperity and safe keepings. And I think these things are sort of forgotten, you know. And we shouldn't forget this stuff, you know. We should celebrate who we are. We should celebrate each other, the divine light, the creativity that's within us. Because every day, you know, from the time we're born, we grow up and then we start dying. And we should celebrate every day, just like Yule. It's about life and death and renewal. You know, we should celebrate these things.
Yep. And I think that the world's got enough darkness, and I think that we all need some more Yule energy year round. We need that joy and whimsy and the community,
I like
and to bring that charity and warmth, and that should be year-round presentation and not just in our Yule season.
Oh yeah.
But that there's it's the cozy holiday, and I love it. And rolling back to the Yule tree a little bit, they would bring in the Yule tree so that would house the land spirits that lived around you. And you would bring it in so that they wouldn't freeze in the wintertime. And if you did have a Yule tree outside before they used to bring them in, they were covered in knitted scarves and bits of fruit and lights so that anybody who was lost and cold could have a little bit of warmth and a little bit of food.
Yep.
And also we're feeding the land spirits, the seed cakes on the trees for the birds, the popcorn wreaths. Like, these were all things to help feed the land spirits that are stuck out in the cold. So bring them in.
It's also correlated with everybody recognizes what I'm going to say is witches' balls, which is actually the ornaments
Mm,
that are on your Christmas trees. That's why they started hanging witches' balls on the
mhm,
Christmas tree, was to catch the bad spirits that would come into your house.
mhm, mhm,
And a lot of people don't realize that, or the symbolic uh, candle on a branch, burn it for a little while, then you go around the Yule tree and you would blow them out, which is symbolic of the sun, or
mhm,
also the promised child, or Christ, depending on how you
mhm,
view it. A lot of people don't realize these things, how they interconnect. And
mhm.
I find
Mm.
that the Nordic tales are very fascinating.
I love the Nordic Christmas stories and the Christmas spider,
Yeah.
um, which is one of my favorites. It's a parable about a poor family who could only afford the tree. And Christmas Eve, she's got the tree up and she's got their stockings hung and filled. And she goes to bed. And she wakes up and she's got this tree covered in the most beautiful golden tinsels. And there's gems just all over this tree, glittering in the sunlight. And on the tree is a little jeweled spider. And um, it's an amazing parable about the generosity of the season and, the toy drives and things like that. Um, and my awesome mother got me or made me a little beaded Christmas spider. So that sits in the middle of my Christmas tree. And I love the whole story about the Christmas spider. And they're super, super cute.
Oh yeah. My ex-mother-in-law actually, she had one, and
Hmm.
um it seems to be one of those where just the true meaning of the story seems to
Hmm.
like transcend religious groups, spiritual beliefs.
Hmm.
Everyone understands that at times you have to be appreciative. And
Hmm.
I don't know, it's beautiful. I like it.
Hmm.
Now, one thing that I love doing in the Yuletime season is so quite a while ago during like COVID time frame, I was
Hmm.
attending a lot of like online classes and branching out. Not only like networking, but also just learning from others that unexpected sources. And I started attending some of the classes with the Temple of Witchcraft. And they had this Yule class that I attended. And so the Temple of Witchcraft has this 13 days of Yule meditation. And
Hmm.
it starts with Mother's Night. And then you go to Capricorn. And then you work your way through all the zodiacs and you end at Sagittarius. And it's, I want to say anywhere from like maybe 10 to 15 minutes of a meditation for
Hmm.
each night. And you sit there and you really reflect and you dig deep and you go on this journey. And from there, you record your thoughts. You can do some divination from like tarot to runes. You can kind of actually personalize it yourself to whatever form of divination that you like in addition to it, or you
Hmm.
can just do the meditations by themselves. And it's important to journal through it and really self-reflect and all the messages, all the thoughts that you had, where
Hmm.
like the Lord and Lady were talking to you, or whatever spirits or entities or a part of the meditation that you encounter. And you're supposed to take that information and then you put it for that time frame.
Hmm.
And it's supposed to help you work on yourself, but also serve as a prediction tool for the upcoming year.
Hmm.
And it's really interesting. Um, just how they play out. And, in the moment, some of it can just seem like ridiculous where you're like, okay, I don't know what this means. Like I ended up moving on the Gulf in the summer. I think it was June, time frame. And when I was doing the meditation for cancer, I pictured myself in a body of water and just absorbing the sunlight, like feeling that kind of heat with like the coolness for kind of clarity, and then also the warmth of the sun. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I was thinking like, okay, water, sun, relaxation, peace, cleansing, like so many different thoughts were going through my mind. And I went in my planner and I kind of just put like the key words. And at that time, when I did the meditation, like the December of the year before, I had no idea I was going to be moving near the Gulf. And as the year progressed, it was like it slowly fit into piece. And then it was that moment where I'm like, I see what happened there. Okay. It's interesting how some of it works, some of it, the hidden meanings that you don't realize until after the fact. And I don't know, it's one of those, especially with the winter time frame, where like I was kind of getting at before, like that self-reflection and that what can I do to improve? What can I do prepare? Which, kind of leads us into the further Sabbats down the line, like Imbolc and later Austera and the new beginnings and the spring equinox time frame. And, just those themes, it kind of carries you further into that. I'm sure most of you out there realize that with the Wheel of the Year and the different Sabbats, they have this common thread that goes from like the light and the darkness and you pulling the ear and you doing the actions. But it's like you hit the winter time frame, the winter solstice, and you're at the darkest night, and you have to think about the hope, the promise to come. And then you go to the preparation around Imbolc time frame, and you start thinking, what do I need for the year? What can I do? And then, of course, on the more mundane side, next thing you know, you're in spring cleaning. And then we hit like Austera and the new beginnings. And, depending on your path, it really depends on what you celebrate. And then you keep going further and things are getting warmer and you're getting more excited and things are starting to thrive. And, you just keep going through. And then eventually all of your efforts have, come to fruition. And now we're at the harvest festivals and it's like, wow, we did this. This is awesome. Look at us go. And then you start thinking, oh, who have we lost in the year? Who isn't here to see how our efforts came to be? And you start thinking of your ancestors and what came before you and that reflection and facing your darkness. And then next thing you know, you're at the Yuletide season. So it's this constant repeat, but it's like, you have to do the action, you have to do the work. And it's amazing to, at this time frame, to really just keep working and moving the pegs and keep going. And I don't know, I always feel with winter solstice time frame, the Yuletide season, you just start seeing the beauty of it all.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do any of you do any form of meditation during this time frame or divination?
I do a lot of like candle scrying, mirror scrying, fire scrying during this period. I do a lot of simmer pots too, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then I'll meditate, especially if it's snowing. I'll go sit and cozy up in front of a window with a nice cup of coffee and a blanket, and I'll meditate while I'm watching the snowfall and watch how the wind takes it. It's one of the most peaceful times of the year to me. It's just watching the snowfall.
Colorado, you know that? It's one thing I do miss because it would snow and I'd be cold and I'd grab that coffee and go and look out the window, be drinking my coffee. And to me, winter is terrifying, especially if I'm driving. But when I'm in the safety of the house or I'm out shoveling the snow, especially at this time of year, you see the magic because you can look up in the sky and the sky is so crystal clear. You look up and you can see the stars and the planets and you can see the nebula and all that, even though they're faint. You watch it when it snows. You see the beauty because you know
Mhm.
that when we're watching snow, they're just like us. They are many, and they never look alike.
Mhm.
Oh,
I see the beauty in that. You know, but also what it rewards us with. It rewards our water storage. You know,
Mhm.
the coming spring because it brings all that in. The Yule is so important because
oh,
we celebrate it, nowadays with sweets and gifts. But sometimes we forget about our role as witches about celebrating these little nuances of nature.
Mhm.
Watching the
oh,
squirrel dig around for its nuts
Mhm.
and how they're actually planting trees or the
Mhm.
birds getting into the bird feeders and how they're scattering seed about
Mhm.
and that will come to life the next spring. Winter is very important, because it's time for Gaia to rest, but it's also a time for us to celebrate our life, our new beginnings, and
Mhm.
take worship and knowing that the promised one is coming again.
Mhm.
oh.
We love that Yule where we bring in our Yule trees and we set them up and we stock them full of gifts underneath for the young ones and we give gifts to the old ones, which is usually a blanket because we want to gift them with the promise of warmth. You know what I'm saying?
You want
Mhm.
to keep them
Mhm.
warm.
You know, and the sweets after our rituals during Yule. I
Mhm.
love that. I
The
love
whole candy spread.
pies. I love the candies. I really love fudge.
Oh,
Oh,
I got to start throwing my candy
oh,
down soon.
oh yeah. Candy canes. I love taking candy canes and putting them in my coffee and stirring my coffee with it and getting the
Oh,
sugars
mhm,
to.
mhm.
Oh yeah, I
I
love.
like the Santa Shakes, peppermint ice cream and eggnog blended.
Oh
That sounds delicious.
Uh-huh. Or those, and then we'll go up to my mother-in-law's, and she makes mint chocolate chip grasshoppers,
Mm.
and she'll
yeah,
make
that
like a
sounds
whole
good.
pail of them, and like just being able to share in the joy we play. We go up there, and like there's a heavy amount of drinking, and we're playing board games, and
Mm.
it's so fun just to slow down and be in the moment, and nobody's got a nose in a phone, and
Oh,
we're just having a hoot, like enjoying each other's company, and I think that's part of why I really love the Yule season.
Yeah, for me, it's about the sweets, the
Hmm.
the elaborate. For me, when we used to sit down as a family, me and Chrissy would puke Yule right in front of you. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Literally, we would have the fancy plates, the fancy flatware, the Yule log, holly all over the place, Father Christmas all over because it used to get the kids all excited seeing that stuff.
oh, there was an obscene amount.
Yeah,
Actually, a fun little story.
but you
Not
know what?
kind of Yule related, but not. Had this one very creepy Santa Claus, basically. Father Time. I think it was more like a German-looking statue, or well, actually, probably more Eastern European. Now that I think about it, and it had these peaty little eyes,
Would
and
follow you around the
oh,
room.
I swear it was always looking at you, and it was creepy, and I don't know, you just didn't really want to lock eyes with it. It's like it knew if you were up to no good. It knew, and
Hmm.
uh, somehow my early 20s, living with my parents, it ends up in the bathroom. With the small little powder room and ends up on the back of the toilet. And that was its spot. And it was like boring holes in the back of your head. And then you would get up to wash your hands in the sinks immediately in front of the toilet with the mirror.
Hey,
And
Amber,
you
can I
just
ask
see
you a
it
question?
staring at you.
Can I tell you something? Why do you think it ended up in the bathroom?
because I wanted to see it otherwise. Or I
Because
wanted to
So
check it out
where
at the
does the creepy
university.
claws go? Uh-huh.
it gave
Yeah.
everybody the EBGBs. Everybody.
But
I'll
it
be
was like,
lucky.
it was a good statue. It was a solid statue, and it wasn't like, it gave you the heebie-jeebies, but it didn't feel like bad necessarily. Like, let's
Mm.
throw this away or anything, or donate it to Goodwill. I don't know. But it that Santa, I'm picturing it now, and I'm like, man, I
Yeah,
hope I
it's
don't
not,
inherit it one day.
we still have it. We still
Yeah.
have it. We don't put it out because the grandkids like to, they're handsies.
I have a
So
feeling like
they don't
15
know the
years from now, I'm
difference
gonna get it
between.
gifted to me, and it's
It
gonna
really
scare
looks nice and not touched. So we keep everything kind of put away. Now we're going through the great battle of the Yule tree with the kitty cats.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a losing battle for sure.
Well, and it's like growing up, I remember our cats getting in the trees or in the tree, but they were like older cats. They're more mature, so they just kind of hung out. They'd climb up, not knock it over, just lay there on the branches. Good day. Now it's like, how quickly can we climb up the tree and almost knock it over and leap out of it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? The other day I was watching some videos on YouTube
Mhm.
of these cats and people trying to keep the cats from knocking over the tree, knocking the bulbs off, chewing through the wires. I watched
Mhm.
one video where this cat grabbed a hold of a wire and it got shocked and it jumped back real quick. You know, yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's
the ingenuitive ways that people try to like set their trees up so the cats can't get to them is just beautiful. There's some really nerdy ones with like the portal where you have like a ring of like red LEDs and a blue one in the trees and in two parts on the ceiling, and they're so great. Or I've seen the ceiling suspended ornaments where they're
Oh.
just all on fish line, but they're
Hmm.
far enough up that the cats can't get to them. There's so many pretty ways to do it. I saw there's a lady who did a Yule moon
Hmm.
where she took like a big crescent moon frame and then she wove garland around it and she decorated that as her tree, which was really, really cool.
yeah,
Oh, really cool to see.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. We're putting our Christmas ornaments on until just before Christmas because
Mm.
the cats will tear them up, kids will get into them.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
being raising kids myself, and for me, Christmas and Yule was very important. It
Mm.
was one of these things where, Father Christmas would come and visit us, and he always gave me something. And I know darn well that I didn't deserve it because I was a naughty boy.
Hmm.
I was a hellion when I was little. But
Mhm.
you know what? Yule was exciting to me. It was that pinnacle in my life of memories where, you know, Father Christmas, Santa Claus would bring me a racetrack, a train track,
Mhm.
and I figured out a way to interconnect my Christmas presents, with the trestle and stuff like that. Get the racetrack going and try to beat the train. Memories, those things that my mom, dad putting up the Christmas tree, the Yule tree, just before a week before Christmas, because I was always afraid that I was going to knock it over, or, you know,
Mhm.
and I did. I was a typical kid. Have to climb
Hmm.
up
Hmm.
underneath and try to stick your head and your body up as far up the tree without trying to knock it down. That was me. But
Shaking those early Christmas boxes around, trying to see, what did I get what I asked for?
I have
Mhm.
a vague memory of Amber waking up one Christmas morning, and she was really little. She, all excited. She figured out the art of opening up gifts. She got up
Taping them back.
and raised the presents and all that. I did it when I was little. I think we all go through periods like that, but those are the memories of Yule,
Oh, wow.
of the season. You know, the naughty child actually being the Lord of Misrule. You know, going in there and going, "Yay! Look at all the stuff."
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was the naughty one when I was growing up. I did it. I
I
remember.
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I feel like I was very mischievous around the holiday time. Like I was determined to find the presents. I was determined to find the gifts. I was determined to push the boundaries on whatever I could. I
Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't just get a lump of coal. Honestly,
It's
like
the
they didn't just
nature
like
for the
come
kids.
in with like
Mm-hmm.
a bag of charcoal or something, and they're like, "Here you go. That's your present."
Oh, we've done that. My brother's got a fantastic system for the kids. So they pre-wrap a bunch of empty fake Christmas presents and label them for the kids and put them under the tree. And then there's present jail, which is the fire pit. And then if they're especially naughty, they will go throw the empty box into the fire pit. And it's like, okay, that's one less present. And then, Christmas Eve, they're worried that they're going to have like nothing under that tree. And then Christmas Day shows up and the tree's full.
Yeah.
And they're shocked. Like, how was I this bad? And I get all like, Santa's got these things for us, and mom and dad have these things for us. And then I had my favorite was the year that my brother paid me to dress up in a Grinch costume and steal their whole Christmas tree.
Oh God.
I saran wrapped, yeah, me in a
Did
Grinch
did they
costume.
see it?
Oh yeah, no. We made sure the kids were home. It was after school. I like pull up and park like halfway up the street, and I'm walking down the street in this Grinch costume with a Santa hat on, and I have an industrial roll of Saran wrap, and I have my partner pull the car up toward the end of the driveway, and I go in and Saran wrap their whole Christmas tree. And I have a bag, and I'm loading up their presents, and I have the Christmas tree Saran wrapped, and we go tie it to the roof of my car, and then I slowly go around the block a couple times, and they're wailing, and then like
Oh.
my brother calms them down and like takes them to their room, and then I bring the Christmas tree back, and my brother puts it in the garage, and it's like, the Grinch had a turn of heart, and his heart grew 3 sizes, and you get Christmas. It's okay, but just enough to have some fun with it, and it's still my favorite thing. The look on their faces when I come in and start eating the sugar cookies they're trying to make and wrap up their Christmas tree. 10 out of 10. Do recommend.
Like that.
Wow. I remember
It would be hilarious to
when Amber and
to
when
see their faces and that, like,
They were like, they had no idea
I
what to
remember when
expect.
Amber was growing up, if they was naughty, I would always make sure that there was some raisinets in the bottom of their Christmas stocking to represent, hey, you need to get it together because now Santa is leaving reindeer droppings in your stocking, but it was actually raisinets. Get it together. You're beyond the block of coal,
Mm,
the chunk of coal.
though.
You're getting the naughty treat here.
mm. I
They
had
never caught on. At least I don't think they did.
last year I got a lump of coal for Yule. My husband bought me it's called peacock coal. It's iridescent with like a rainbow shimmer on it. Super pretty. They look like an oil slick. And he was like, you deserve coal this year. And then also other things. But like I had to give you a lump of coal for being a witch.
Mhm.
And I was like, you're butthead.
But
Gosh.
yeah, Yule's always, Yule and Christmas, it has always been important to our family.
Hmm.
It's one of those things where it's too bad that we can't keep the spirit of giving year round.
We kind of do. And that's one of my
Mhm.
favorite things in the witch culture is that we have like a cyclical like gifting habit of, for
Oh,
initiations, there's gifts. For you're gonna go hang out with your witchy friend and you've been talking about something and like you bring them a book on it, or I
mhm,
found this crystal and thought about you, or like all of these little things, um, and you can absolutely incorporate that.
mhm,
One of my students, who's my younger brother-in-law, we have this back and forth thing that I started of when I was teaching him is I would buy him a copy of a book or, stones, things like that. And now as he's grown in his practice, he starts trying to get me back. So he's getting me like bones and, candles, herbs, things like that. And it's whenever we see each other, it's always the running joke of it's like, hold on, let me go unzip this bag real quick. I have a thing for
mhm.
you. And like, but you can make it all year round.
Oh yeah.
And
Now, I have a really important question to ask you guys. When you are actually doing your Yule rituals,
mhm,
how do you decorate your altars? You know, how,
uh, I use pine boughs. I hang a mistletoe up from the ceiling. I have bells out, and then I have our Yule log with the red, green, and silver candle, and then I'll light those and continually replace those throughout because I do the 13 days.
Mhm.
So I'll do it through the whole 13 days. And then the 24th, I make a bowl of oatmeal, and then I leave that on my house spirit altar for the Nis so that he's paid for the year. And then I do um, a lot of devotional work, and uh, there's specific wardings that we do for the wild hunt. So we're making noise and jingling bells outside, and we're blessing the earth around our house so that they know that there's as much life in this house as possible, and that
Right.
they pass us by. And especially since this time last year, I was almost taken by the wild hunt.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why we should always leave a plate of food outside
Hmm.
for the spirits of the wild hunt
Hmm.
so that they may eat and have merry. You know,
Yeah.
Hmm.
if you're a follower of Odin, of course, it's going to be an ale or some meat of some sort. You're going to
Hmm.
leave it
Hmm.
outside for them. For us, it's about ancestry. So, it's not necessarily a, a dumb supper like Samhain, but, we should also put some sweets out and some food
Hmm. Hmm.
off,
Hmm.
not leftovers. They should be the first
No,
ones.
they get a first cut.
And
Mhm.
for me, our altar was decorated with holly, uh, silver, and gold. Silver
Hmm.
representing the goddess, gold representing, the sun god to be born.
Hmm.
Um, we went through great lengths of like having holly garland going around the edge of our circle. You know,
Hmm.
to me, those things are very important. Have a red ornament or something red upon the altar that represents our ancestors, our lineage.
Hmm.
To me, that's very important. A
Oh yeah.
red white rose,
And
representing
because I work with the Nis, this is my Nis.
yeah,
This is Mr. Thomas.
Mhm.
And he sits on the table next to my Christmas tree. Um, I also have another. My topper is just another Nis, and so he gets his little bowl of porridge, and yeah,
yes,
uh, decorate with antlers. I do a lot with antlers for
Oh
Yule.
yeah.
My tree is covered in antlers and dried orange slices, cranberries. Um, I've got like acorn pagan Celtic knots, and tinsel, and then I do gold, silver, white, and purple bubbles, and then our like sentimental ornaments mixed in there. Because we have a tradition of we buy a new ornament every year to kind of summarize the year. So like when COVID hit, I had a dumpster fire ornament, and we haven't picked out the one for this year yet, but my childhood ornaments were filled with a bunch of cats. I was obsessed with cats as a child, and that was a big theme. And then my mother-in-law gifts us a crazy ornament every year. So I got the leg lamp last year.
Like the one from
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's battery operated. You can turn the lamp on.
Oh, wow. I asked for one of those for Yule this year. And you know what Chrissy said? No way. You're not getting that.
I'm pretty sure
But,
I
hun,
bought my brother like a replica of the whole leg lamp one year. I don't know if he puts it out or anything. I'll be honest. His wife probably hides that thing in the garage, and I do not blame her.
I would do it just.
I mean, it's kind of
Yeah.
iconic at this point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's, to me, Yule has been really the highlights throughout my life. Watch my kids grow up and seeing that excitement when there's presents underneath the tree, and watching them smile, and later on they're playing with each other's toys, and the other one gets mad at the other one. Then me and Chrissy used to get flustered. Go play with your own toy. But you know what? Now that my kids are growing up, I miss it.
Yeah, but we get the joy of portraying that magic in the next generation.
Right.
And while we're no longer we can bring back that childlike whimsy and wonder through proximity in our children and our grandchildren, and watching their eyes light up with fireworks, and it all of and kind of reap the joy of all of our efforts.
Yeah.
And
well, even that, like one of the first, I mean, given I had children pretty young, but one of the first things when I moved out that my parents wanted me to have was like my own like Yule platter where I could put like cookies and milk and give offerings that the kids can be involved in. And like leaving the Santa cookies and stuff like that, and the milk, and like that was a staple. That was like, you need to have this, and I still have it, and I still use it. And it's just that wonder of like the kids when they come back the next morning and there's bites taken out, and they're like,
and it's also we passed on some ornaments from when Amber was little, because she has her own family now, and my parents gave me ornaments that were my grandparents' ornaments.
Yeah.
Well, and one of my favorite things with getting those ornaments is like my parents with their different moves and everything. They've always kind of had like a little like house cleansing type thing. Like, let's go through everything. Let's get rid of stuff if we don't need it. Let's pass it on. Does this hold value for me, or does it hold? Am I holding it because it holds value for you, and I don't want it lost? And I have my own little just one like little case of ornaments, just a single tier, and they're just my favorite. Just my like the ones that I held when I was little. And it was interesting because, like, as I'm gathering them, I have memories with them, but I didn't know how they came to be. I didn't know why we had them. I didn't know, did it come in a year before I was born? Was it from my parents' childhood? Like, what year did we obtain this, and why do I love it so much? And every year hanging up those ornaments, it's like that moment where I'm like secretly hoping that my kid loves it too. So that I can I used to oogle at this. I used to love this. And now I get to watch you do it.
Yes, exactly
I don't know. Just having that.
It's that memory.
Yeah, it's passing on the joy. It really is. And the memories. Because my mom did the same thing of like, we had like the family Christmas tree, and it had all the sentimental ornaments, like the kid milestones and things like that.
Yeah.
And then the collective, like we'd all get a new ornament. And
Right.
then when I got my house, my mom handed me a box, and it was all of my Christmas ornaments that I had picked out as a child. And so those all go on my Christmas tree, and it's all the years of memories. She kept the sentimentals, like the little kid milestones, like first year Christmas, things like that.
Mhm.
The school project, little angels and things. And but I got like from like my first conscious memory Christmas ornaments of like,
Mhm.
and I got to share the story with my husband when we got to put up our first Yule tree in our house of like we're unpacking the ornaments and they're going on the tree, and here's the story of why is this going on the tree, and like I love it.
Yeah, I still have an ornament from when I was 5 years old. And I remember that they opened up a mall down in Kilcuck, and I
Mhm.
remember they had this little hut, and Santa Claus, Father Christmas, was in this little hut.
Mhm.
Went in and talked to him, and I remember him giving me that Christmas tree ornament, and it's a little
Mhm.
ornament of Santa Claus. I still have that to this day.
Mhm.
It's almost 60 years old. It is 59 years old right now.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I've kept it all these years, and I still have ornaments from my mom that I plan on passing out to my kids, because I want them to have them before I die. And if they don't take them, then I'm just going to give them to the one who will take them
Oh.
and add on to them, because those are family memories, my parents' memories of when I was little, and also memories of, my kids growing up and all the Christmases that we spent together.
Oh,
And
wow.
so far, I've been pretty blessed during Yule that I get to see my kids,
Oh, yeah.
during this time.
Absolutely.
I
Well,
get,
it's great that we all work together in one way or another, at least with our
Mm,
immediate family, and then even sometimes with friends, and especially our covens, we need to meet, we need to get together, we need to,
mm,
get through this darkness together.
participate.
Well, I
You
think
know,
we've had a beautiful discussion regarding
oh
Yule,
yeah.
and I feel like we could go on for so long sharing memories and just really diving into that spirit. But I'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of Lessons Told. Nico, Chris, Dad. Um, it's weird calling your first name.
okay.
Uh, I'm glad we had a beautiful discussion, and I
Yeah.
hope all of your, you know, Yuletide adventures are everything you expected and more.
Yeah.
Same to you. Happy holidays, guys. Happy Yule, Saturnalia, whatever we're celebrating. Have fun, be merry, be safe.
Yeah. It's that time of year to reconcile,
Hmm.
reconnect with old friends and family. Uh, have a blessed Yule. Blessed
Hmm.
be.
Blessings.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.